Welcome back, everyone, to the deep dive. All right, so today we're going to be doing something really interesting, and especially for our UPSC aspirants out there.
Yeah.
We're going to be taking a deep dive into Assam tea.
Sounds good.
So we're going to be talking about Assam tea, its history, its cultural significance, and all of the challenges that it faces.
Right, and we're going to be looking at all of this through the lens of the UPSC exam.
Exactly. Yeah.
So how this seemingly simple beverage, connects with India's economy and society and even politics.
Yeah, it's really fascinating.
Yeah.
So we're going to be using a recent article from the Indian Express
Okay.
to kind of guide our deep dive here.
Awesome.
So let's get started. I guess maybe we'll start with, Prime Minister Modi recently attended this celebration in Assam marking the 200th anniversary of the tea industry.
Okay.
And one of the things that caught my eye was this mention of the Jhumoir Dance.
Oh, yeah?
I don't know much about it. Maybe you can tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so the Jhumoir Dance is, it's not just a performance. It's really like a living archive of Assam's Adivasi tea tribes,
Wow.
They migrated from the Chota Nagpur region.
Okay.
And they brought with them this vibrant tradition.
Interesting.
And, if you look closely at the dance movements, you'll find that there are themes of forced labor and resistance woven into them.
Oh, wow.
Reflecting their struggle, against colonial exploitation.
So it's really like each step is telling a story.
It's incredible.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Okay, that's really fascinating. But how did this whole industry even begin? Like in Assam, how did that all start?
So picture this. Okay, 19th century British explorers stumble upon the Singpo tribe in Assam, and they find them brewing tea from wild bushes.
Wow.
And the British, always with an eye for opportunity.
Of course, yeah.
They immediately saw the commercial potential,
Yeah.
And so they took this local custom and transformed it into a global commodity.
So those wild tea bushes that the Singpo tribe were using are like the foundation of this massive industry now.
They are, yeah.
And now India is the second largest tea producer in the world.
Absolutely.
Like, that's incredible. It's such a journey.
It really is. And it's really a testament to how indigenous knowledge can be harnessed,
Absolutely.
Although often with complex consequences.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean,
Yeah.
It makes me wonder, the British saw the potential, but could things have unfolded differently? Like, could this indigenous knowledge have led to a different kind of tea industry?
It's a really interesting question to think about. The Singpo tribe had this extensive understanding of the tea plant and its cultivation and all of the brewing techniques. And, imagine if that knowledge had been central to the development of the industry, like from the beginning.
Yeah.
Perhaps we would have seen, a more sustainable and equitable model.
Yeah, that's a really fascinating what if.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've talked about, the history a little bit.
Yeah.
But let's get back to the tea itself. What can you tell us about, like, the tea plants, the growing conditions, all the different varieties of tea that are out there?
Well, tea plants are actually quite picky.
Okay.
They need specific temperatures and the right amount of rainfall, and the soil conditions have to be just right for them to thrive.
Oh, wow.
And there are two main types of tea plants.
Okay.
There's the short-leaved China variety, and then there's the broad-leaved Assam variety.
Okay.
And each has its own kind of unique character that influences the flavor and aroma of the tea.
So there's a lot more to it than just, what we see in our cup.
There is a lot going on behind the scenes, yeah.
Wow. And speaking of, unique flavors, India has some incredible GI tag teas, right? Like Darjeeling and Assam Orthodox.
Oh, absolutely.
Tell me about those.
Yeah, so these GI tags, these geographical indications, they're like a badge of honor for teas,
Okay.
Darjeeling tea, for example, it's grown high in the Himalayas, and it's known for its delicate floral notes.
Interesting.
Some people call it the champagne of teas.
Wow.
Then you have Assam Orthodox. It's grown in the lowlands, and it has a much bolder, maltier flavor.
Okay.
And these distinct qualities, they earn them premium prices in the global market.
Yeah, of course.
Which is really important for India's economy.
So it's history, culture, economics.
Yeah.
It's all swirling around in our cup of tea.
It really is.
But the journey from leaf to cup, it's not always smooth.
Yeah.
And this Indian Express article that we're looking at, it highlights some pretty significant challenges that are facing the industry.
Yeah, definitely. And understanding these challenges is really crucial for our UPSC aspirants,
Yeah, for sure.
I think one of the biggest threats facing the industry right now is climate change.
Oh, I can see how that would be an issue.
Absolutely. Things like droughts, floods, and unpredictable temperatures, they all have a huge impact on tea yields and quality. It's a major concern for the environment and for the livelihoods of all the people that depend on tea cultivation.
So climate change isn't just some abstract concept. It's something that's really affecting tea growers directly.
Absolutely. It's a tangible reality for them.
Wow. And then on top of climate change, there's also the issue of pesticide bans,
Right.
which are becoming more and more common.
Yeah, they are. And while they are good for the environment and for consumer health, they do present a challenge for tea growers.
Yeah, I imagine it's probably pretty costly and time-consuming to find alternative pest control methods.
It is, and it's a really good example of the tension that exists between sustainability and economic viability.
You mentioned pesticide bans. I've heard that it's really hurting small tea growers. How do we, balance the environmental concerns with their livelihoods?
It's a really complex issue, and there's not an easy answer. On the one hand, we need to protect the environment.
Right.
And we need to make sure consumers are safe.
Of course.
But we also can't forget about the economic impact that this is having on small tea growers. So finding that balance is really crucial.
It sounds like a very tricky situation.
It is, yeah.
Where there are no easy solutions.
Yeah, you're right about that.
Are there any initiatives, I guess, that are aimed at helping small growers, transition to more sustainable practices?
There are, yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
There are some government programs like the Paramparagat Krishi Vikas Yojana, or PKVY.
Okay.
And this program provides financial assistance and training for organic farming.
Oh, wow.
So this can really help farmers adopt more eco-friendly methods without having to bear the whole cost burden themselves.
Oh, that's great. So it's like a step in the right direction.
It is, yeah.
Okay, so we've got these initiatives going on, but what about consumer demand? Are people actually looking for organic and pesticide-free teas these days?
They are, yeah, absolutely. Especially in some of the major export markets like Russia, Ukraine, and Central Asia. Consumers are becoming more and more conscious about what they're consuming.
Okay.
And they're willing to pay a premium for teas that are delicious and ethically produced.
Right.
And this presents a great opportunity for Indian tea growers to kind of tap into this growing market segment.
So it's not just about being environmentally responsible. It's also a really smart business strategy.
Exactly.
Okay, that's really interesting. And for our UPSC aspirants out there, understanding these market trends and the government initiatives that we've been talking about, I think that's really crucial, right?
It is, yeah. It shows an awareness of the economic forces that are shaping the tea industry.
Right.
And also India's position in the global market.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so we've talked about climate change. We've talked about pesticides and, consumer preferences. But what about the labor issues that we hear so much about in the tea industry?
Yeah, this is another really critical area where, finding that balance between economic realities and social justice is so important.
Right.
The Indian Express article that we're looking at highlights some concerns about inadequate wages and the lack of basic welfare measures for tea workers.
Yeah, that's really disheartening to hear that, these issues are still going on, especially when you consider how crucial these workers are to the entire industry.
Absolutely. They are the backbone of the tea industry, and making sure that they're taken care of is non-negotiable.
Yes, right.
It's not just about paying them fair wages. It's about providing decent housing and health care, education and sanitation.
All the basic necessities.
All the essentials, yeah.
We've been talking a lot about, this push for organic tea, but isn't that certification process really expensive?
Yeah.
Especially for those small growers.
Yeah, it can be a real barrier for them, especially when they're already facing financial constraints.
Right.
And that's where the government and other organizations need to step in and provide support.
Okay.
Whether it's through subsidies or streamlining the certification process or just giving them access to, affordable testing facilities.
So it really sounds like it's going to take a collective effort to make this tea industry more sustainable, more equitable.
It will, yeah.
But what about the economic challenges?
Right.
How can Indian tea compete with other major producers like Kenya, Sri Lanka, China?
Yeah, so one strategy is market diversification.
Okay.
Instead of just relying on those traditional export markets.
Right.
India could start exploring new avenues in regions like Africa and Latin America.
Okay.
Where the demand for tea is rising.
So it's kind of like expanding the customer base.
Exactly. Yeah. Spreading the reach of Indian tea.
Okay.
Another thing that India could do is focus on value addition.
Right.
Instead of just exporting those raw tea leaves, they could start producing and marketing specialty teas.
Right.
Or flavored blends.
Okay.
Or even ready-to-drink tea beverages.
Interesting.
This way they can get higher profit margins.
Yeah.
And also cater to those evolving consumer tastes.
So instead of just selling the raw ingredients,
Yeah.
they're crafting a finished product.
Yeah, exactly.
Like a gourmet experience.
Exactly.
That makes a lot of sense. But we can't forget about the small tea growers, or the STGs.
Right.
They play such a huge role in India's tea production.
They do. They contribute over 50% of the total tea that's produced in India. So yeah, empowering them is essential for the overall growth and resilience of the industry.
So what can be done to support them? They often face a lot of limitations compared to those larger estates.
You're right. They often don't have access to credit or modern technology or even reliable market information.
Right.
So one solution would be to improve their access to low-interest loans and give them financial assistance so that they can, invest in their farms and adopt better technologies.
For giving them the financial tools to be able to compete.
Exactly.
Okay.
Another approach is to promote cooperative farming models.
Okay.
Where small growers can pool their resources together and share knowledge and gain, greater bargaining power in the market.
So it's really about creating this supportive network that allows them to thrive.
Yeah, exactly. And these cooperative models, they not only provide economic benefits,
Right.
but they also foster this sense of community and shared responsibility.
Yeah.
Which is really crucial for long-term sustainability.
Absolutely. All this has been so insightful, I think, especially for our UPSC aspirants out there.
Yeah, and the tea industry is really a microcosm of larger socioeconomic trends in India.
Right.
So understanding its complexities, the history, the culture, the economics, and the environmental challenges,
Yeah.
it's vital for, crafting those well-rounded answers in your exams.
So it's not just about memorizing a bunch of facts. It's about really understanding how everything is connected.
Absolutely. Think about it as this web of interconnected factors.
Okay.
Climate change affecting yields, labor rights, influencing production costs, and government policies that are shaping market access.
Right.
Being able to analyze these connections is what's going to set apart, a good answer from a great answer.
It's taking it to that next level.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, well, this has been an incredibly insightful deep dive into the world of Assam tea.
Yeah, it has.
From, those ancient forests where the tea plants first grew to the bustling global marketplace today.
It's quite a journey.
It is. And for our UPSC aspirants listening, remember to connect the dots.
Yeah.
Think about how these issues that we've been talking about intersect with those broader themes like sustainable development and economic policy and social justice.
Absolutely.
That holistic understanding is what's going to elevate your answers and show that you really have a deep understanding of what's going on.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, well, this has been great. I think we need to take a short break, and we'll be right back with more on Assam tea.
Sounds good. It is a complex issue. There just isn't an easy answer. On one hand, we got to protect the environment and make sure consumers are safe, but we also got to consider the economic impact that this is having on small tea growers. So finding that balance is super crucial.
It's a tricky situation for sure. No easy solution. Are there any initiatives, I guess, that are aimed at helping small growers transition to more sustainable practices?
Yeah, there are absolutely. There are some government programs out there like the Paramparagat Krishi Vikas Yojana, that's PKVY. And that program provides financial assistance and training for organic farming. So this can really help farmers, adopt eco-friendly methods without having to bear that entire cost burden themselves.
Oh, that's great. So it's like a step in the right direction, it sounds like.
It is, yeah.
So we've got these initiatives, but what about consumer demand? Are people actually looking for organic and pesticide-free teas?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Consumers are becoming more and more conscious about what they're consuming, and they're willing to pay a premium, for teas that are delicious and ethically produced.
Okay.
And this is a great opportunity for Indian tea growers to tap into this growing market segment.
So it's not just about being environmentally responsible. It's a smart business strategy too.
Exactly.
Okay, that's interesting. And I think for our UPSC aspirants out there, understanding these market trends and these government initiatives is really crucial.
It is. It really shows an awareness of the economic forces that are shaping the tea industry.
Right.
And also India's position, in the global market.
For sure. So we talked about climate change, pesticides, consumer preferences. What about the labor issues that we hear about, so much in the tea industry.
Yeah, that's another critical area where finding a balance between economic realities and social justice is essential.
Right.
The Indian Express article that we're looking at, it highlights some concerns about inadequate wages and the lack of basic welfare measures for tea workers.
Yeah, it's disheartening, to hear that these issues are still persisting, especially considering how crucial these workers are to the entire industry.
They're absolutely the backbone of the tea industry, and ensuring their well-being is non-negotiable. It's not just about paying them fair wages. It's about providing decent housing, healthcare, education,
It's about the
sanitation,
basics.
all the essentials.
We've been talking about this push for organic tea, but isn't that certification process really expensive?
It can be.
Yeah, especially for small growers.
Especially for them, yeah, and that's where the government and, other organizations need to step in to provide support, whether it's through subsidies or streamlining the certification process or just giving them access to more affordable testing facilities.
So it sounds like it's going to take a collective effort to make the tea industry more sustainable and equitable.
It will, definitely.
What about some of the economic challenges facing the industry? Like, how can Indian tea compete with some of the other major producers like Kenya, Sri Lanka, and China?
Well, one strategy is market diversification. Instead of relying on traditional export markets, India could start exploring new avenues in regions like Africa and Latin America, where demand for tea is rising.
So it's about spreading the reach of Indian tea.
Exactly.
Okay.
Another thing that they could do is focus on value addition.
Okay.
So instead of just exporting raw tea leaves, India could produce and market specialty teas, flavored blends, or even ready-to-drink tea beverages.
Oh, interesting.
This way, they could get higher profit margins and cater to those evolving consumer tastes.
So instead of just selling the raw ingredients, they're creating a finished product.
Exactly.
It's like a gourmet tea experience.
That's a good way to put it.
That makes a lot of sense. But what about the small tea growers, the STGs as we've been calling them?
Right.
They play such a huge role in India's tea production.
They do. They contribute over 50% of the total tea produced in India.
Wow.
So empowering them is absolutely essential for the overall growth and resilience of the industry.
So what can be done to support them? Because they often face limitations, compared to the
Yeah.
larger tea estates.
They do, and they often lack access to credit or modern technology or even just reliable market information. So one solution would be to, improve their access to low-interest loans and give them more financial assistance so they can invest in their farms and adopt better technologies.
Give them the tools to compete.
Exactly.
Okay.
Another approach would be to promote cooperative farming models where small growers can pool their resources together,
Okay.
share knowledge, and gain greater bargaining power in the market.
So it's about creating a supportive network.
It is. And, these cooperative models, they don't just provide economic benefits, but they also foster a sense of community and shared responsibility, which is crucial for long-term sustainability.
Absolutely. I think all of this has been incredibly insightful, especially for our UPSC aspirants out there.
I agree. The tea industry is really a microcosm of larger socioeconomic trends in India, and understanding its complexities, the history, the culture, economics, environmental challenges, it's vital for crafting well-rounded answers in exams.
It's about understanding how all of these things are connected.
Absolutely. Think of it as a web of interconnected factors. You've got climate change affecting yields, labor rights influencing production costs, government policies shaping market access. Being able to analyze those connections is what sets apart a good answer from a great answer.
It's that next level thinking.
Exactly.
Okay, well, this has been a fascinating deep dive into the world of Assam tea, from the ancient forests to the bustling global marketplace.
It's quite a journey.
It is. And for our UPSC aspirants listening, remember to connect the dots. Think about how these issues intersect with broader themes like sustainable development, economic policy, and social justice.
It's all connected.
It's all connected. And that holistic understanding is what will elevate your answers and show, a deep comprehension of the subject matter.
Absolutely.
It's about going beyond the surface.
Exactly.
Yeah, it really is about going beyond the surface level. It's amazing how just a simple cup of tea can reveal so much about India's history and culture and economy.
Yeah.
It's like we've gone on this journey, from those ancient tea forests to this bustling global marketplace.
And for our UPSC aspirants, this journey is about more than just knowledge. It's about building those analytical skills that are needed to connect the dots between seemingly disparate issues.
Exactly. I mean, who would have thought that a discussion about tea could lead to all these insights about climate change and labor rights and economic policy?
Right. It's a testament to how interconnected our world truly is.
Yeah, and I think for those preparing for the UPSC exams, Being able to see these connections is such a valuable skill.
It really is.
So we've explored the origins of Assam tea, the cultural significance of traditions like the Jhumoir Dance, and all of those multifaceted challenges facing the industry today.
Yeah.
From climate change and pesticide bans to labor issues and market competition, it's clear that this industry is at a crossroads.
Yeah, it really is. And the path forward, requires a nuanced understanding of these challenges and a commitment to finding sustainable and equitable solutions. It's about balancing economic growth with environmental protection and social justice.
It's about finding that sweet spot.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, this deep dive has been truly enlightening.
Yeah,
I feel like I have a whole new appreciation for the complexity and importance of this industry.
I'm glad to hear that. And hopefully our listeners, especially our UPSC aspirants, feel a little bit more equipped to tackle questions related to this topic in their exams.
Yes, absolutely. And we encourage all of our listeners to share their thoughts and questions in the comments below. What resonated with you the most? What other aspects of the tea industry would you like us to explore?
Yeah, your engagement really helps us tailor future deep dives, to your needs and interests.
Absolutely. And don't forget to like this episode and subscribe to the Deep Dive for more insightful explorations into topics that matter. And remember, our source for today's Deep Dive was a really thought-provoking article from the Indian Express. So until next time, keep those minds brewing.